What's going on, Washington fans? Today I'm going to give you guys a major cap space update for the Commanders, what they have left, what they can do, what are their next options after signing everyone, signing all these rookies, and keep in mind this is definitely subject to change before we can even sign a guy that I'm going to be talking about in this video, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of guys we can sign. But make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed as well, go ahead and subscribe. You will not regret subscribing, especially if you're a Washington fan. Go ahead and subscribe. If you're an NFL fan, go ahead and subscribe. It's a safe space for everyone. So let's get into today's video, and I'm going to start by giving you the exact cap space number that we have. We have just over $20.1 million in effective cap space. That is the Washington Commanders, obviously. They have just over $20.1 million in effective cap space. They have now signed their rookies. They have now signed their free agents, and all the deals are done until, we expect, I expect a Terry McLaurin extension to happen, in July, probably mid-July. I also expect a Laramie Tunsil extension to happen because they're both guys that deserve them and guys that want them. I believe both those deals are being worked out right now. So I suspect both of those deals are going to happen, but it won't affect the cap space right now. We did have $25 million last week, but obviously we signed all the rookies, gave them their numbers, signed all the free agents, gave them their numbers, and we're now at $20 million. So the bank is open. The door is open. And this is just enough for an edge rusher, because I always say this to you guys. You need to end up, in an offseason, you can't have less than, $12 million. You just cannot have that. So this is just enough for an edge rusher, because if you pay a free agent edge rusher like Zadarius Smith, Von Miller, Matthew Judon, Preston Smith, who I don't get Preston Smith, but either of those top three guys, if you sign a guy like that, you're going to be paying them around $5 to $8 million, right? And so $8 million would be the max. They're not paying an edge rusher more than $8 million. And $8 million, like I said, you don't want to have less than $12 million, and they're at $20 million right now. So $8 million works out, and that's the absolute max. If you could get a guy like Zadarius Smith at $6-7 million, that's pretty good. But I would suspect 8. I mean, he's got to want more. The kid had 9 sacks last year. He's still playing at a high level. He still has the edge rush juice that the Commanders want. So let's talk about. So now that I've given you the cap space update, let's talk about some options. I've given you most of the options I have. First one, Zadarius Smith, edge rusher, formerly played for the Browns and the Lions. He had 9 sacks last year between those two teams. This is a guy that if you get him, he gives you an immediate pass rush effect. He gives you that immediate pass rush juice, and he's just a veteran guy. Like I said, these are going to be 1-year deals, right? These are going to be a $6-7 million 1-year deal. If it's $8 million, which I don't think Adam Peters would pay that much, then still 1-year deal. I don't think that he would just pay that much, so I don't see him being like, we'll give you $8 million. You're an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. You're a veteran. I don't see that happening because Adam Peters doesn't spend more than he wants to, and he's shown that with Jeremy Chinn and Dante Fowler Jr. He's not going to do it. Speaking of Dante Fowler, we lost Dante Fowler. We need an edge rusher. I'm a big guy on. My take on the defense right now is it's not good enough. All right, and you're not going to fill every hole in the offseason. I say this a lot. You're not going to fill every single hole in place you're not good at in an offseason, and they always reset. These holes always reset. You're never going to fill them all. You could argue maybe the Eagles filled them all, but their quarterback player wasn't that good last year. All right? So they have holes. They have a lot of holes, and they potentially filled their holes at the end of the year. Now they have more holes. Lost Josh Sweat. Need an edge rusher. Get Jahad Campbell. He can play on the edge. So it's a continuous cycle in the NFL of needing different positions. Different holes rise every year. And shoot, we could be in the cornerback market again next year. I mean, you don't know if Marshawn Lattimore is going to work out. You already suspect you have your guy in Trey Amos, but what if he doesn't work out? I mean, the NFL said Trey Amos is not that good. We're going to let him slide to 61. He's not that good. That's what the NFL GM said, besides Adam Peters. They said, your evaluations are wrong. We're going to let him slip all the way down to 61 because we don't care about him. So, you have holes that you need to fill every year. We have $20.1 million in cap space. I think the two biggest holes are, none of them are on the offense. While, yes, there is still holes in the offense, and some people want to go get Nick Chubb. I'm not a big fan of that. I think the two biggest holes is edge and then safety, right? Safety is not as big of a hole. I mean, Quan Martin had surgeries on both shoulders just 2 weeks ago. Will Harris, I mean, is he a starting strong safety? Like, is he a starting box safety? Is Quan Martin, is he able to play at that level? I don't know. I mean, do you think? Because I don't. I don't think Will Harris can provide a dog at safety. Like, yeah, he may try his hardest on every play, but he might not be that talented. I don't think he is. I think we could use a dog at safety. So I think we're lacking at the safety position besides Quan Martin. And then I think the edge rusher position, obviously, I mean, who do we have? I mean, you could count on Jacob Martin to get you 5 to 8 sacks, but has he done that his career? No. He had 1 sack last year. Can you count on a guy like Dorrance Armstrong to get 10 sacks? Last year, he was on pace to get 7 sacks, but got injured. He ended up with 5. Cleveland Farrell last year had 2 sacks in the first 2 games. Ended up getting hurt for a lot of the games down the stretch. Ended up with 3 sacks. Can we get production out of those guys that we haven't seen before? Dorrance Armstrong, just at the max, what you hope out of these guys is Dorrance Armstrong, 7. That's the max. Jacob Martin, 8. That's the max. Like, you're trying to get these guys the max sacks. Cleveland Farrell, 5. That's probably the max you're going to get. So, I just think, Javon Kinlaw, throw him on the outside, 4. Probably the max you're going to get. So, do they have enough cap space? Yes. Go at an edge rusher. Don't go get a guy like Justin Simmons. And I've suggested this before, and I'll take the blame for that. Don't get a guy like Justin Simmons. Like, unless you really, really want him, because you just don't have the cap space to do it. And when you go under that 12 million mark, like I said, you just set yourself up for failure in the future. No matter what player you get, no matter what position it is, you set yourself up for failure the next year in the cap space area. You want to be high next year at the cap space. But if you go get a dog at a edge rusher and then Justin Simmons, the only safety, like that would fill the 2 positions, but no, don't do that. So it's going to be one or the other. And I think it would have to be edge rusher. They've talked about the veteran edge rusher. They've said they've looked at him. So we'll see what they decide to do. But right now, the Washington Commanders have $20.1 million in effective cap space. What do? I think they sign an edge rusher in the next few weeks. It could be a situation like Noah Brown last year. Noah Brown was signed 1 week before the 2024 NFL season. And he ended up with 450 yards, but he was hurt for the last 7 games. If he wasn't hurt for the last 7 games, he could have had 700 yards. And he was signed 1 week before the season started. So imagine if you get a guy, an 8-sack guy that can give you the edge juice that you need, and you throw him out there, he gets you 8 sacks, and you signed him 1 week before the season. We could see that happen. A surprise signing 1 week before the season. They don't feel confident in the edge rusher position. Maybe a Justin Simmons safety signing, and they don't address the edge rusher position. I don't know. There's also still UDFAs on the rise. That's all I got for today. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hail to the Washington Commanders as always. Enjoy some playoff basketball tonight. The playoff basketball is so good. Unfortunately, my team lost last night, the Thunder, but it is what it is. Thunder in 5. Hail to the Washington Commanders. You guys have a great rest of your night. Peace.